Every Godzilla fan in their everyday life comes to understand that most, if not all, of their friends, family, co-workers, classmates, and casual acquaintances don't really understand their fascination with the king of the monsters. And let's face it, there have been 38 Godzilla films, all scattered up and down the tonal spectrum, with a majority of them landing in the silly, campy, over-the-top area. Truth is, Godzilla is like ice cream. Each fan has their own personal favorite flavors. But what about non-fans? Casual Godzilla fans? People that know of him but have only seen a handful of the movies over the years. I recently invited a friend of mine who has no interest in Godzilla to see the new Japanese Godzilla film, Godzilla Minus One. Then we sat down and rolled cameras and we discussed, compared, and contrasted our opinions from opposite sides of the material. This is the video, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, welcome back to the channel. We just saw Godzilla Minus One. I'm a huge Godzilla fan, been a Godzilla fan all my life, and I took my friend to go see the movie with me, and he has seen, what, 5, 6 Godzilla movies in your entire life?
Probably 5. Yeah, 5.
5. So right. 5, and like as many as there are, I've seen them all. So we went to see the movie. I saw it before you saw it, and then I took you to see it. So I saw it twice. You've seen it once. We're going to find out how our memories work here. But we're going to review it, and we're going to see how a diehard Godzilla fan who sees everything compares to someone who just casually checks it out every now and then, or when his friend drags him. So what were your expectations going into this? Be honest. Like, were you like, geez, what are we going to do here?
Well, I think as a non-Godzilla fan, someone who hasn't seen everything there is to see, my history with Godzilla starts in like 1983, watching Night Flight. And I don't know if you ever saw Night Flight.
Oh, yeah.
So that was like, I was into Dynaman, right? Which was like the original Power Rangers, like, you know, what they had in 83. And so my very first thing with Godzilla ever was Bambi meets Godzilla. Right? The 69 black and white 2-minute cartoon, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first time I'd ever even heard of Godzilla, seeing that. And then after that, I probably had seen King Kong versus Godzilla.
Nobody can stop the great showdown when King Kong and Godzilla meet to fight for survival of the fittest.
So I would have seen that before seeing the original Godzilla. And then after that, probably 1998 with you when we went and saw Matthew Broderick, just
The worm guy.
tearing it up in that Godzilla film. And then, you know, Godzilla with Bryan Cranston. And then Godzilla versus Kong. And then Godzilla Minus One. So that's kind of where I'm at.
So
in my Godzilla, everything else would have been on cable. You know, I mean, I've seen Mechagodzilla and Ghidorah and all, you know, those kind of things, right? But like, I don't know them. I just kind of would catch. I never just sat down and like, let me watch this from beginning to end. It was just on TV in the background.
So you don't even know what parts of what movies you've seen.
No.
So
yeah, nothing at all.
So
Right.
so certain scenes would be like, I know that movie, and
Right.
then but I don't know what it's from. I got you.
So I had real low expectations, you know, other than just groundswell going in, because, you know, when all you have to bring with you is Matthew Broderick, and no offense to Gareth Edwards, but that Godzilla movie is kind of like Predator 2 for me. I have a problem with Predator 2 where it puts me to sleep. I don't know that I've ever seen Predator 2 in its entirety. Like, I don't know why. Should love it, but
dude,
like, I turn it on and I'm out.
That's another video.
I don't know.
Predator 2. We're not going to go there.
Right.
That's another video.
But yes, so Gareth Edwards Godzilla, same thing. It probably took me 5 attempts to get through that thing. I don't know. Maybe it's because I just would turn it on late. I have kids. That's the kind of thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
So, but either way, so I had pretty low expectations going into it. So I didn't, you know, I mean, I was just expecting Godzilla. I'm going to go in, I'm going to trash Tokyo. And
okay. I was actually thinking that you were going to find it boring, and I thought that you were going to, because there was another, we saw the original Godzilla movie, the original 1954 Japanese.
We did.
In a little theater downtown when it re-released, and if I remember correctly, it was late at night, and at one point you were asleep.
Maybe it's just my narcolepsy. Godzilla and narcolepsy go hand in hand for me. But it was a midnight showing, to be fair, and I had seen the original Godzilla multiple times, so that wasn't like my first viewing. So that's not real fair to me at 1 o'clock in the morning.
It's true, but it was a serious movie, and it wasn't a lot of it wasn't like a action packed, keeping you at the edge of your seat. It was like a long, ponderous movie with lots of. It took its time. It was a slow boil, and I was expecting this new Godzilla Minus One to be in the same vein, and it is to some point, but we'll get into why it's completely different than the 1954 in terms of its human protagonist and the drama that's on camera. So everybody knows how I felt about it. I loved it. No matter how bad a Godzilla movie is, I love it. And when a good Godzilla movie comes out, I love it even more. But I do have my gripes, my problems with it. No Godzilla movie is perfect. No movie is perfect. But I really want to know how you felt about it. We have not talked about this yet.
Right. And it's great. I thought it was well made. It was fun. It was tense, and I think it was the right amount of destruction, like in a world where we're all tired of Marvel movies and we're all tired of just big CGI. And no offense for the new Godzilla Kong movie coming out, but
no, you can
Godzilla,
be real, man.
Godzilla and Kong with Kong running around with the power glove isn't doing anything for me, right? Like it's not what I want to see, right? I'm tired of just giant CG battles, right? So this Godzilla, man, it was more like it had like Jaws flavoring, right? Like it's more like, hey, what's under there, right? Like it's the Godzilla making his way through the water, coming up to attack. There was more suspense. I mean, you're an hour, 15 minutes in before he goes Super Saiyan, right? Right? I mean, and he doesn't do it very much, so it's not like it's not overdone, and it's not just like 20 minutes of like, look at me just tearing up buildings, and so I really like how much they used Godzilla in it, coupled with how much character development there was, and dealing with PTSD and dealing with, just what it means to go to war and what it means to be a kamikaze pilot of all the craziest things that there really are, right? Yeah. And,
I have to say, I've never seen a movie about a kamikaze pilot at all, let alone a kamikaze pilot who goes into the inner details of what it means to be one culturally in Japan. Yeah, I'd never crossed my mind before, but it's like, of course. I mean, it was pretty cool that they kind of explored that, that side of the war with entwining it with a Godzilla film. I thought that was pretty cool. You talked about Godzilla's screen time. How did you feel about Godzilla, like how he was introduced and how he disappeared for a while and then came back? Because that kind of feeds into something I'm going to kind of complain a little bit about, but I wanted to see if you had any complaint about it.
So interesting. So you're talking about like when he's at the island, like when he first rolls in.
Spoilers, by the way, if you haven't seen it.
I assume we were doing spoilers, so yeah, like
big time spoilers.
We should like have a.
There's an island in this movie. But
and Godzilla.
And Godzilla.
Yeah. So I mean, right. So if we're talking, are we doing spoilers? I mean,
we're going to completely do spoilers. It's been a while.
So I mean, like if he, you talking about like when he rolls in and he's he's a little teenage Godzilla. He's not full grown yet.
Yeah,
he's kind of tearing up. I actually really liked that part. I mean, I thought that was good, right?
Yeah, I dug it too.
Okay, so and then he goes away, and then we stick with the main character for a while, and I mean, not only is this poor dude dealing with just a war and being a failed, cowardly kamikaze pilot, right? And then he's got to deal with the fact that you just encountered like baby Godzilla killing a bunch of dudes, right?
And let's be fair, he didn't know that this was a younger, smaller Godzilla.
Yeah, right.
It makes the T-Rex look like a miniature creature.
Right.
I mean, he's still huge.
Yeah, I mean, because it goes from that, and then you go back with him, right? And it's him returning home and looking for his parents, finding out they're dead, meeting the girl, with the baby, and just that whole kind of piece happens, and it's like, yeah, this is a Godzilla movie too, but it's like what they're having to really deal with right there, and it kind of moves away from that a little bit. And then when he comes back,
well, let me pause. Let me interject here. When you're talking about how Godzilla strikes, kills all the people on the beach, and then he passes out in the scene, wakes up, and then continues on with his life, as if he never saw Godzilla, because he never mentions him again.
Right.
He never mentions him again until he sees the dead fish at his job.
Yep.
And he never talks about it to anyone, which is, to me, it's a little bizarre, and it almost made me think that they were setting up, maybe Godzilla's in his mind, that it's a metaphor for the war, and he doesn't want to talk about the war just as much as he doesn't want to talk about Godzilla. That was my... in my mind, I was telling myself that.
I think... It comes down to it's all about honor, right? I mean, this is Japanese culture, and it's all about honor. And he was a cowardly kamikaze pilot that faked engine trouble on his plane so he could land on this island. Then Godzilla shows up, and they're like, "Dude, you got to get to the plane and use your 50 calibers to take this dude out." And he gets in there, fails at that. All of these people die. So here he is.
But one.
He's failed the war, right, in his mind. He's failed all of these people on the island. So Godzilla's now running around like a living lizard of all of his failure and his dishonor. He returns home, and who does he run into but that lady who lost her kids? And she's like, "You're garbage, dude. You show up here cowardly. All of my family is dead, and you couldn't do your honorable job and go out there and die for the cause."
Right.
And so I wouldn't talk about it either. I mean, he's dealing with a lot of stuff. That's just one more thing to bury,
it's
right?
on top of everything else, you're so insane.
Right, exactly. Who's going to believe him anyway?
You're right.
Hey, guys, giant lizard just tore up the island.
You're right. But he doesn't even have a moment where he, looks out at the sea and just thinks about it. It's almost like I don't know, maybe I got to do... I'm used to... When Godzilla shows up, even in 98, any survivor of Godzilla is going to sit there and be catatonic, and then he sees the flame and Godzilla. He says the name, and that's another thing. When he came ashore, some random guy in that group was like, "Oh, that's Godzilla.
Yes.
He's an Odo Island legend," and that is sort of what they did in the original Godzilla. He was named by the people on the island. They actually sacrificed people to. They put someone out on a raft to appease the god. So it was a callback to that, but it was just weird that this one guy that was stationed on the island as a military guy, a mechanic, would know that. So, but I don't know. I'm really picking at stuff. Because really, after those things are put to rest, I don't have a problem anymore with the movie. It was almost like they were trying to say Godzilla was in his head, tied to his wartime travesties of not being able to be the kamikaze pilot that he was hired to be, or drafted to be, or whatever they do. And he didn't mention it again until they saw the deep sea fish rising up out of the ocean. Yeah. And then he started telling all his work guys on the boat, and it didn't, even after that happened, after Godzilla came up and there was that adventure with the ship, they blew his face off with the bomb, and which was great. That was, anytime Godzilla's in the water,
right,
he's on point.
Yeah.
And you know what, I have one more gripe I'll get to, but I want to keep hearing what you have to say about the rest of the movie, from where he leads a somewhat normal life with his adopted family.
Right.
And then...
And that's all about just someone trying to move on from trauma. And, I think he keeps everything in, right? It's why he doesn't talk about Godzilla.
Right.
That's why he doesn't talk about anything. And, he might probably even convinced himself that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, because, right? I mean, I don't know. I could conceivably convince myself that didn't happen. But... I don't know. I think it just does a really good job at just showing his character in his struggles, and how he's connecting with a family, but still failing to connect with that family, afraid to connect. Because I don't think he feels like he deserves to connect, right? So this is a guy that feels like he shouldn't really be alive, right? He should have died in the war. He should have been eaten by Godzilla. He should have been killed on a friggin' boat, right? When they weren't prepared, right? He's lucked out three times over, or well, I don't know.
Except he probably doesn't see it as luck. He
doesn't see it as luck, right? And this is almost more like punishment to him, right? And then what happens is Godzilla shows up where his girl's working, right? And he shows up there and to save her, and she ends up pushing him into the alley and gets blown away by the Super Saiyan Godzilla beam, right? So, and I don't even know how this guy even gets up and keeps going at that point, because now he's lost her.
Yeah.
And it's just so when he makes that decision, when you get further on, right, when Godzilla's back and he's tearing up stuff and the plan's coming together, and he's he goes out and he finds the plane and he's like, I'm gonna fulfill my kamikaze, my dreams of doing this, right? So it's I can see where he's finally like, this is it. This is the last straw. Like, she's now, like, everybody has stepped up and done the honorable thing in his mind, and he's just been the coward the entire time. And so, I mean, I see where that comes from to where the character kind of goes there towards the end.
And I believe there's a scene also where, like, they're at dinner with they have his coworkers over at their house for dinner.
Yes.
And there's a misunderstanding because they think that he's married to this woman and that the child is his. But he's not even trying to hide it. He's just like, this is not my wife. This is not my child. They're just like, we're a makeshift family after the destruction.
Right.
And they're kind of surprised by this. And then the older guy chastises him, like, you should marry that girl. And he's like, obviously he's thinking no, because he doesn't deserve any of this. And he has a line later on in the film, and I believe it echoes in several other scenes, that the war is not over for him. And he tells that to the young woman when why won't you let me in? He wakes up from a nightmare, and he won't tell her what's going on. Right. And he, like, I'm not going to tell you. He doesn't want to let her in on it and then he even starts to even question his own sanity, because he didn't question whether or not she was a dream and he was really dead.
Yes.
So that was also kind of what played into me, that maybe he thinks Godzilla was his insanity, like something that represented his failure just manifest as this being. Godzilla in the water is great. Perfect. Like the physics, the way the mass displaces the ocean. His body is like kind of buoyant and also like elephant, like it shakes with weight. And I was super impressed with it. Super impressed with the way the CG worked, the way that it worked. And in fact, several times I thought they just have a giant head out there behind the boat,
right?
And they're pulling it and it's dipping in and out of the water.
Yep.
I thought I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out to be the case.
Right.
And I haven't seen anything that shows that was the case. When Godzilla destroys the giant ship, which was great because he just decapitated it and body slammed it. It shot him too. And that was when they realized that there's no defeating this thing per se. But when Godzilla came on land and the classic theme plays, but there's a shot where he's walking you see him from the side, and his parts and pieces are moving kind of like he's a puppet, almost like he's a rod puppet. And I wondered if they were trying to do that on purpose to make it look like a guy in a suit, but it just looked like his leg would move and then his fin would move, and I was just like, there's a couple of janky shots that I thought, like, it was so great, and then it just was like,
I did not pick up on that. Like, I did, like, you bring that up now, and I'm like, I got to go back and watch it, because I don't feel like I noticed it.
This is what I'm kind of envious about people who aren't super into Godzilla, is because you get to see it. First of all, you went in with low expectations.
Sure.
That also helped.
Yeah.
I went in with super high expectations, and I still am incredibly impressed with it. But I'm like a nagging person when it comes to, like, if something's great, one little thing sort of like, it was almost perfect, leagues better than most CGI Godzillas that I've seen.
It's leagues better than a ton of just any CGI movies I've seen recently. Like, it's been a long time since Marvel made a character look this good. I mean, have you seen the newest Ant-Man, right?
Darren?
Surprised to see me.
Like, come on.
That's another video. but yeah.
And the budget that this is done on, in comparison, like, it's amazing what they were able to do.
It's like an above average indie film.
Yes. Exactly.
It's like it does have a budget, but it's nowhere near Thor: Love and Thunder in terms of its budget.
What a classic Thor adventure. Hurrah!
So where Godzilla Minus One hits its stride for me, like where it just becomes like I just was like loaded in and I was fully into it, was when, and it wasn't even when Godzilla was on screen. It was at a meeting where everyone got together to discuss how they were going to destroy Godzilla just on their own without the help from the Americans.
Where they're requesting volunteers.
It's
like anybody that wants to step, anybody who wants to leave, go ahead and go. And like 5 people are like...
a little bit like that scene from Jaws, except they're not hiring
Yes.
someone. They're like, anybody got any ideas?
Right.
And of course they had the idea to trap him with all the ships, with all these complex lifting air. And at first it's all, you feel like one of those guys in the audience. You're feeling like, this isn't going to work. How's this going to work? And they even say that. They're like, this is so last ditch and so thrown together.
Yeah.
With, yes, there's science behind it.
But of course we know it's not going to work.
And
meanwhile, we're building Plan C, a plane in a bunker somewhere, right? So we know that's the payoff. So
right.
At no point do you ever think this plan's going to work.
But I got excited.
Yes.
When it was working. Like it actually started to work. I was like, oh, look at these guys. I was rooting for the humans.
Yeah.
I was worried for the humans.
Yeah. And it's very just, you can feel like the people coming together, right? Because they've just been through some terrible stuff, right? We're talking about the end of World War II and the losing side of World War II and all of the terrible things that have happened there, right? So they're just them banding together to have some kind of spirit and like and feel honor and be able to do something like and save people. Because I mean, at that point, do you ever feel like you're saving anyone, right? This is like the best thing at that point, right? We're not killing other people. There is a godlike creature that is come up to punish us some more, like, and we can do something about it. So I mean, it's definitely a wave a flag and cheer kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
totally.
And from that point forward, I was locked in my seat. I was like, this is awesome. It's working. It's not working. It's working. It's not working. It was just like reality. When something's working and then something happens that, oh shit, it's not working anymore. It's not working like it should. And then here comes the dude in the plane. And it's
first, here comes the guy with the broken arm they left back. That you're not allowed to come. You're the young guy. Stay here.
Oh yeah.
He shows up with all the tugboats, right? So you have that bit, and you see all of these moments coming, right? There's nothing real original in the. This is a plan. We know the plan is not going to work. That's why we have a backup plan. We know that's not going to work. We know the guy we left on the shore, he's going to show up, and we know finally and everything still feels good when it happens. Everything is still like,
okay,
yeah, I'm into it.
How much money do you think they spent on just that guy with his walkie-talkie? And with the tugboats coming, like probably not that much. Like that didn't cost that much money to do. They set it up perfectly. It's literally the same scene from The Rise of Skywalker, where they're attacking the base on Exegol, and the Emperor shoots up his lightning, and everybody is like, you don't even want to talk about it. I get it, but he's like, shut up, I don't want to talk about that. But look where I'm going. Poe is like, we're done. Everybody's done. But then here comes Lando with every ship in the galaxy just with him.
Yeah.
And did that feel great?
No.
Didn't really feel great.
No.
I mean, it was like, oh, good. Here it comes, and look at all that money on the screen.
Yes.
And I think I recognize that ship, and where's Mando?
Yeah.
But other than that,
it
didn't have the same,
It didn't.
like, Rocky Balboa moment
Right.
where you're proud. I mean, maybe some people did, but it didn't work for me, and it obviously didn't work for you. But in Godzilla Minus One, they were able to do the same scene,
Yeah.
but it meant something.
And you're not surprised when it shows up, and it still means something. You're not like, oh, I forgot about that guy. Like,
Oh, the dude in the jet?
Well, no, not even the dude in the jet, the dude in the tugboat. When they leave him and he's like, he wants to be involved the entire time. Let me shoot the gun. Let me do this. Let me do that. You know this dude's going to like have a little bit of a moment.
I didn't even think about him really.
When he showed up, I was not
surprised. So when he showed up, I was like,
oh,
cool.
No. Like,
he brought the fleet.
But that's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter that I knew it was coming. Like, it still felt good that it happened, right? I mean, it's definitely kind of saccharine. I mean, the girl lives. Spoilers again, but the girl lives, right? And again, not surprised.
The movie had its cake and ate it too.
Yes.
Like you felt that.
Right.
You felt his girl. I keep wanting to call him his wife.
Well,
but the woman died, and you felt it. It hurt his performance, his crying, the black rain when it happened after the explosion, which was awful, and it was like he was at his lowest point. You felt that, and throughout the rest of the film, you felt her loss, and they still gave you the happy ending without it being like too contrived. I mean, it wasn't like she just walked up. She was in the hospital.
She's in the hospital. It looks like she's got some radiation problems, but I mean, like,
and they established already that people were still searching for lost people.
Yeah. But again, knew it was coming, wasn't surprised, but it was still like, yeah, I like this.
Hey,
I like it.
I was surprised.
Okay, good.
I was surprised. I don't know why. I think maybe because when I got locked in, I just completely threw my personal Steve script out for what I was expecting, and I was just like, whatever you do, whatever you have, movie, throw it on me.
It happens in these movies, though. I mean, this kind of thing happens, and you don't like it, but then does this guy really need his girl to die? You know, we did. I mean, I'm fine with it. You know, like
he suffered a lot.
He suffered a lot. Like, give the guy a break, and I'm glad he had it, right? He deserved it.
Or it was all a dream.
Morning.
I don't subscribe to the it was all a dream.
Like, it's the reverse. It was a nightmare, but then all the good stuff was a dream. That would suck. When they finally sink Godzilla and it doesn't work, and then it works again, but then the plan, with the airplane comes in. The best part of the movie that got me was, and they did this on purpose. They didn't tell you all of the story because there was a failsafe in the plane.
Yeah.
You think that he's on a collision course with meeting his destiny and fulfilling his kamikaze job and sacrificing himself, but that's not the case. That's not what happens, and it's not when the plane explodes and there's a beat and a silence, and then you see the parachute. I was like, oh, good. That's awesome. He put the parachute in. When it really sold it for me, when it gave me chills, is when it cuts back to the mechanic who had it in for him the whole time, and begrudgingly made the plane, like corrected the plane, fixed it for him, because he was like, you're going to get back on track to kill yourself. Yeah. When he found out he was alive, and his performance, the way he collapsed and just put his hand to his face, that to me was like, that actor sold it. Yeah. He sold it, and that was, to me, that was the best part. The best human part of the film was that moment. The two guys that needed each other, but then it was almost as if Japan gave the warriors who came back, failed, permission to live again.
Yeah.
And it was great how it played out on camera. It was a great performance, and it made me feel great. Like, I haven't felt like that in a movie in a long time.
Yeah, and it's because that is the moment where he is completely forgiven. Like, this guy who he feels, he feels that he failed him and all those people and caused that death. And this dude feels like he got everybody killed on the island, right? Because this is the other survivor from the island in the beginning. And so when he tells him, hey, this is how you pull the cord. This is your ejection seat. That is him being forgiven for, like, all things, right? He's given absolution and said, you can live. And then that's when...
And, of course, it was greatly edited to show that after the fact. It was great. It was perfect.
Yeah, because otherwise it would be, another movie I can't stand, The Dark Knight Rises, right? Like, Batman takes the nuclear bomb off the coast, right? And then,
that's another video, too. And that, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
So that video, that movie, like the same kind of thing, right? But it's that's a little more buried. This has that cool, like, you know, slightly cheesy punch, but I mean, I think it was very affecting, and I think they did a great job with it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And it ended good. It gave you all the turmoil you needed and all the loss that you needed, and at the end still delivered a happy, hopeful ending.
Yeah.
And there was a thing going on where they embraced and they pushed the camera pushed in on the woman, the survivor, and she had a black mark on her neck.
Yeah.
And I saw it in the first showing, and I was like, oh, what's that? But then I forgot about it because I was thinking about all the other things in the movie. So I never even thought about it. When I saw it the second time, I was like, what is that? That's something... And I hadn't read about it online. I hadn't gone and read anybody else's opinions about it, so I hadn't seen what people were saying. I did after the second showing. And I didn't have an opinion. I was like, I don't know what this is. It could be anything from she's mutated because of the radiation,
yeah.
Or maybe it's a scarring from the radiation. Like or maybe it's just a reminder that even though everything's great, they're left scarred. They're not unscathed. They have something going on with them. And I don't know if this is something that's linked to radiation poisoning or if it's something exclusive to new building Godzilla lore, like a Godzilla virus or something,
right.
Which, you know, that's just what we need, you know. Godzilla virus.
I really dig the early stuff. I really dig, like, miniature Godzilla on the island.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a really good touch. I enjoyed that, knowing that he's coming back, seeing him there in a almost manageable, not manageable, but almost, you're like, knowing what's coming, you're like, oh, you guys have a chance. Like, this is it, guys. Take advantage.
He's a Cabbage Patch Kid,
right?
now,
Yeah, in
but just
comparison,
wait.
yeah. So I mean, I really like that. I mean, I thought all the acting was really good. It was funny. I was looking through the director's filmography. Now, I've been purposefully not saying anyone's name, so not to butcher.
Yeah.
But
hitting the
Takashi. What is his name? Takashi Yamazaki, maybe. But I didn't know any of his movies. But I was like, let me see, because like this is kind of like it felt like a breath of fresh air to be a big monster movie and yet feel so personal, right? So I'm scrolling through and I haven't seen anything. I don't watch enough movies, but I go back 20 years and he made a movie called The Returner, which was like a time travel thing. I do not remember the plot of this movie other than dude in trench coat travels in time. That's about it. But there is a scene in this movie where they make al dente noodles that I quote to this day. I've quoted this movie for 20 years. The Returner. And now here it is, and he's the writer-director of that early on, like it might have been like his second movie that the dude ever made, and now he's making this movie. And I'm like, makes me want to, like, and I remember liking it 20 years ago.
The Returner.
Yeah, Returner, yeah. Now, I'm sure it's probably cheesy, and, it did have some special effects that may be probably questionable now, especially on the budget and 20 years ago.
We're talking about Godzilla movies, too. So
right, exactly, right.
There's a vast catalog.
But I mean, I just find it, so I've only seen 2, 20 years ago and now, and I remember digging one, and I definitely dig this one. So it makes me want to kind of go back through the guy's filmography and check it out.
I've known you a long time, and I'm sure I've heard this quote before, and since I don't remember The Returner... I mean,
it's not like it's literally not like a quote that's going to be like, oh, that quote. It's just about al dente noodles. Like, anytime I make noodles, I just kind of say al dente, right? Because it's like a thing that she teaches him. Like, it's a guy goes back in time, meets a girl, and they're like cooking a meal together, and it's just like he didn't know what that meant.
So it's not like a...
No, it's not like something... It's definitely not a famous quote or anything like that.
It's not like a Evil Dead 2 quote.
Hey, what's that you got on your face?
Huh? Blah, blah, blah.
See how that works?
No, you're not going to get it. You'll watch it and be like, "What the hell is that?" The quote that you take away from this movie. It's just one of those randomly weird things.
It's a connection that you made.
Right.
I know I have not seen any of the director's other movies other than there's a scene from the movie that he made before this, and maybe I'm wrong, when it came, but he did a film set in Japan where one of the characters has a daydream about 1950s Japan and Godzilla's attacking. And it's a version of this Godzilla just maybe like the first rough draft version of this kind of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Similar build, similar movements, but it's just one shot where there's like a car driving around in the city and the tail is swishing around and it pans up and it shows him standing there destroying the city. It's compared to Godzilla Minus One, it looks like a previs shot, but it was really great at the time and it really resonated with a lot of people. It's like, man, someone needs to make a Godzilla movie like this, and obviously the man's dream came true because he got a shot at a whole film, and he knocked it out of the park. I'm anticipating what the next films are going to be, because when I went into Minus One, before I knew anything else about it, I knew that Toho was setting up a parallel Godzilla franchise with the Monsterverse, which was uncertain at the time. But Toho was starting up their Godzilla universe again, and they were going to make individual films with all his monster friends and foes as well, and like Rodan, Mothra, those guys. And I assumed that's what the assumption was, and then they were all going to come together in sort of like an Avengers style, which is what Destroy All Monsters was. And that was like the first Avengers type film, I guess, of at least in Japan. And you know, I love those movies, but they kind of suffer from the same, like they're from a time period, and what came before that was the 1954 super serious Godzilla movie, and as they went on, they got less and less serious and more kid friendly and more action packed and kind of funny and goofy. And you see a trend now in Hollywood. I mean, look where the Monsterverse is going. Yeah. I mean, you saw the trailer.
Yeah.
He's got a power glove.
Why?
Godzilla's.
Why?
I mean, people freak out about it online. Like, Godzilla's running. Godzilla's a different color. Godzilla's all this stuff. Godzilla has proven himself in other films to do crazy stuff. You just have to go with Godzilla is being driven by a corporate force right now, and they're trying to make money.
Yeah.
And they want little kids to go see these movies. They want because they can't show them Minus One 15 times in a row, because little kids are going to get scared of that and just be scared of it. Most little kids like me would eat it up. Little kids, like I was when I was a little kid, but they want everybody to go see these movies. So you're going to get King Kong Power Glove. It's going to sell toys. They want running Godzilla with pink spines, and
is that a mini Kong?
Yes, that's what you get. That's what you get.
So maybe we'll go see this movie. We'll spend money and go see this movie. I mean, and then we'll come back and we'll tell you guys how we felt. But it'll probably echo what a lot of people feel.
I was going to say, because my Godzilla versus Kong, or whatever the heck. Well, is that what that one was called? I don't even know. The
one you went to the theater to see.
Yeah.
That I actually didn't.
My post-COVID.
I saw it on HBO.
Yeah.
But you saw it in the theater.
I saw it in the theater, and I was not thrilled. Like, that's exactly what I was worried about this movie being, right? So I think that speaks to this and the character. And, that one's like, hey, look, somebody, Kong's uppercutting Godzilla. Wow. It's like, okay, it's like the WWE monster movie, and I don't care about that at all. Who cares?
There's a side of me that, like a kid in me that likes that kind of shit, that loves the brawls, the broad daylight brawls. But you have to sit through the other stuff to get there. Yes. And it's not nested in a well-crafted film.
No.
It's like literally watching two kids play with toys, and it's like, are they going to make a good plot? Probably not, but they're going to make those monsters clash, and that's kind of cool. But that's what a lot of Godzilla movies are. In fact, a majority of Godzilla movies are dumb fun. And as a super fan, that's part of it. Like, you can't just champion one Godzilla film and then lay them all out. They have their merits. They have, like, you love it for all its parts and pieces, right? Now, you obviously have seen some pretty horrible Godzilla movies.
Well, it's because I watch all the American ones, apparently.
Well, you know what? I don't think you'd have that much of a difference opinion about a lot of the Japanese ones, because a lot of the Japanese ones, especially through the 70s, 60s, and 70s, they actually leaned more into the sort of the what was that episode, the show you said you watched on the night flight?
Oh, Dynaman.
Dynaman. So they're gonna have that charm. They're gonna have like early Power Rangers type guys in suits, and that's sort of the thing. It's like a modern kabuki theater. Guys obviously in suits fighting each other in miniature buildings. There's an art to that in general, and the movie they built around that in the Japanese versions, the Japanese films, were hit and miss. The films themselves were hit and miss. Sometimes they had great scenes, but it was like, all right, we're gonna skip this other part, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Again, these big CGI slugfests is, Marvel's already killed it, right? They've killed the cinema with that stuff. Like, I cannot get excited about any CGI.
So
explosions.
You're taking Martin Scorsese's.
I am
on this.
full. I could talk about Killers of the Flower Moon all day. Like, that's great, right? I don't have to see anybody CG punching another CG dude. I don't have to see Vin Diesel driving down a dam that's blowing up behind. Like, I don't care about any of this anymore. But this movie, giant monster, Attack of Tokyo, all in. So it's just, you can do it, and you can do it right, and you can do it well.
I think what makes this movie great is that it's a great movie before you even put Godzilla in it. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's a great movie, and then somebody like wrote it to be a great film, and then someone's like, let me add Godzilla in there really carefully, and they did, and it worked. Yeah. It reminds me of other great movies that I remember, that it's a good movie on its own, or at least it's a movie you expect is going to be a certain way, and then something happens halfway through that completely throws a wrench in everything that's going on. So, for instance, Predator. It starts out, a bunch of guys go into the jungle, and it's a classic 80s
payback time.
Macho man, American soldiers wiping out the guerrilla soldiers, and it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, so it's just like Commando again, right? Yeah. And then here comes the creature, the alien from space that's hunting these men, and it just totally becomes a different movie. It like becomes like, oh, you thought this was a military like hoorah movie where they're just kicking ass and they're just superheroes in their own right, but then they just get murdered. Yeah. Murdered, and then it's just mano a mano at the end. That's a good movie that sort of like plays your expectations, takes a genre movie, and then turns it into another movie. Yeah. Godzilla Minus One, same thing. Yeah. War drama, family drama, kaiju film. Right. Same.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly.
And,
And Predator is great. Predator 2, narcolepsy. I don't know why, but yes.
That's another video. Yeah. Predator 2 is like other Godzilla movies where it's like, yes, it's not as good as the first one, but it's fun in its own right. I mean, the last half hour of that movie with Danny Glover chasing the Predator, doing all sorts of, Wile E. Coyote shit all over the, cutting his arm off, falling down, crashing into a bathroom, repairs himself, the old lady in the hallway, just non-stop. Just, it's like whoever was writing the script was obviously, like, heavily into the,
Coke?
Or is it Pepsi? I don't know how drug references work on YouTube. But we're far enough in. But yeah, there's definitely some 80s narcotics involved in the making of this film. And I love Predator 2. I wouldn't champion it as a like everyone needs to see it. Right. But fans need to see it. Yeah. Whereas in Godzilla Minus One, I wouldn't feel bad about telling my mom and dad, you should check it out. Because they'd probably go, we've seen all your Godzilla movies. we don't want to watch Godzilla fight a trash bag man like Smog Monster, which I love.
I love Trash Bag Man.
But I would recommend it. And I feel like they would probably watch it, and they'd probably watch it for me and kind of sit through it, and then they'd probably be won over. And,
I think so.
Depending on what time of night they were watching it. Because they might get a little bit of the narcolepsy.
Nah, this one keeps you awake.
All right. So in closing, is there anything that you want to say about like maybe what your expectations. I mean, obviously you're still gonna have low expectations for the Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire. I mean,
no, they're literally just running like it's Bad Boys, it's Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
When I saw that part of the trailer,
what's happening right now?
I thought instantly of two things: Aliens vs Predator, where the Predator and the woman were running side by side, backlit. But then I thought back even further because that's not the scene. Batman and Robin, where Batman and Robin are running like in the spotlight.
Oh Lord in heaven!
Yes,
another
Bat reference.
Yeah. So like the killers of franchises. That's what you do.
Running together in slow motion is cheesy and just it's a callback to some cheesier movie making.
Yeah.
So them running together.
That type of slow motion, right? It's not quite like James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy slow motion. They were still walking. They're walking. It's like it's the strike the playing
like the
so they're playing it up, right? Yeah. The whole like hero run with Kong and his power glove and
it's like
his buddy.
Like, there's a little too much Michael Bay going on in that part.
There's always too much Michael Bay going on.
Well, as much as it hurts, probably have to go see that film just so that I can we can make a video where I apologize for it and still like it for what it's worth, and then he'll tear it a new one.
Yeah.
Or maybe, who knows? Maybe it'll be the surprise hit of the year. It's not likely. I wouldn't put money on it.
Definitely not likely to be the surprise.
But, I'm going to see it no matter what. Yeah. I'll try to drag him to it because it's always entertaining to see him rant. So
yeah, no rants here. This is a good film. So
Godzilla Minus One. I don't think we can say 2 thumbs up because 2 other movie reviewers already do that. But one super fan loves it, and one casual fan, not even a casual fan, he also loves it. So that's great. I don't think you can really get any better than that in terms of a niche franchise film from another country.
Yeah.
Then it wasn't even in English. It was great. It was great the way it was.
It's true. I saw 2 movies back to back, right? So Godzilla and then The Boy and the Heron, right? So it's great to go to the theater 2 times in the same week and watch subtitled films. So you don't always get to do that. So that's awesome.
It's a Japanese experience.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
And the Japanese are really having a good run at the American cinema right now.
They're making good stuff. So keep it up.
Keep it up.
I'm all in.
We're watching. So more stuff, Japan. Send it to us. So this is a bit of a departure for this channel. I mean, usually you never see me. You see my hands. You see these things. And you see me unbox them and throw my camera all around it in every single area. But rarely do you get a chance to see what we think inside. And you rarely get to see one of my friends come on who's been putting up with my Godzilla fandom ever since high school, right? I mean...
Yes, 25 years now. Back when you used to keep money hidden inside of Godzilla.
My Imperial. Yeah, look, I used to keep money in Godzilla's tail. I would disconnect it, and I would, I don't know, a couple 20s up in there.
Yeah, slightly obscene for sure.
Listen, no one's looking in Godzilla's ass for money except for this guy. No, that's where I kept it. I didn't take him to the shop and do it.
It was your wallet.
He was my bank vault. I had the Velcro wallet. That was what I kept it in.
Right.
Yeah. So I've drug him to a few Godzilla movies, and if you guys like this kind of content, I might drag him to a few more and expand on kind of the things that we talk about on this channel, and see a little bit of what. How the other side views us Godzilla fans. It's kind of cool. Maybe we'll even get somebody who hates Godzilla come on here one day. And do we even know anybody that hates Godzilla?
Who could hate Godzilla?
I don't think anybody hates Godzilla.
I hate Godzilla! I hate him too! He destroys cities!
Although there are some people that hate Godzilla 98. I mean, that's a.
Oh, well, that's me.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Yeah.
Good to meet you.
It's pretty terrible. Yeah.
I was there with him.
Right.
That again is another video. We could go on forever, but we'll probably do a 98, maybe. I mean, if this is popular.
Oh God, that means I have to watch it again.
You don't have to watch it again. Come on, you remembered. It's like Friends meets a giant iguana dinosaur.
True.
It's a fine monster movie. It's not a great Godzilla movie, but I've really come to like the design of the Godzilla. I remember when I first saw it, I thought I had a problem with it. I was super diehard Godzilla fan, and now all of a sudden he's this.
I barely remember it. I feel like at the end it's just a bunch of raptors running around.
And you were right.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of raptors.
So
running
I
around.
would just rather watch Jurassic Park again than watch Godzilla '98.
I think a lot of people had that impression. But again, this is the catchphrase of the video. That's another video. All right. So tune in next time, whenever that is. I make videos few and far between, but I'm going to try to pick up on that a little bit going into the new year. And more unboxings. There's boxes all around me that I have yet to unbox. And you see some new creatures behind me that I've already unboxed. You'll see those in the coming weeks.
Oh, this is a spoiler. If they look
I'll
close
block
enough,
them
there's
out.
some spoilers. Okay,
if
that's awesome.
If you look behind us, you're going to see probably some new guys. And trust me, you're going to get all the typical bat chain puller review and sweeping camera angles. You're going to get all into it. But until next time, guys, stay cool. See you then. I don't even know what that means. See you then.
Stay cool. See you then.
Stay cool. Stay in school.
Don't drool, or you be a fool.
Mr. T.